qualified shot to contend for a championship. It's wide open. A lot of the people disturbed about the heavyweight division, but actually the fact that it's so uncertain at the top brought a lot of illustrious names back into the ring with incentive to compete for titles, and David Tuah falls into that category.
He certainly does. I mean, he's just a step or two away, and he can't afford a setback tonight. The man he's fighting, Robert Houkins, has other thoughts about what he's going to do to David Tuah.
My best asset, I would figure, well, actually, I know, will be just my capabilities in my eyes and the movement. Everyone thinks I just brawl and everything. No, I know how to box and brawl, and I'll think you. You know, it's a strategic type of situation. You have to be just tunnel vision one way.
David Tuah had a crossroads fight that I had the privilege to be ringside for, and calling on TV, where he fought Hasim the Rock Rahman. And it was a very controversial ending to that fight. Tuah ended up getting the victory, and that was one of those battles that catapulted him towards a title shot. Of course, Lennox Lewis was the dominant fighter at the time. You get a look at the tail of the tape for this one upcoming against Houkins. Tuah trimmed now at 241 pounds. That's a drop-off from his last fight. He's 34 years old, so if he's going to make it happen, he has to make it happen now. Of course, hails from New Zealand. He's lived in different parts of the United States. Houkins, a classic Philadelphia fighter, a guy that's going to come in with tenacity, a lot of heart, and some skill. And we'll see if he can match up tonight against David Tuah.
Well, if Houkins is going to win tonight, he's going to have to bring his A game with him. He's going to have to bring some hand speed, the combinations, the jab, and the smarts, because it takes one shot from David Tuah to end any fight.
David Tuah, terrific body puncher in the early stages of his career. In that Rahman fight, he fired off several pulverizing shots to the body. Rahman, of course, ascended to the heavyweight championship with a spectacular knockout of Lennox Lewis. Might have caught Lennox out of shape and a little bit disinterested. Lewis came back and avenged that loss, and we still see Rahman on the scene. So the question is, as we get a good look at his opponent tonight, Robert Houkins, why not David Tuah? There's no reason to doubt that this guy, if he continues to get some action and look impressive, will be a guy that somebody wants to see get a chance at one of the heavyweight champions.
Well, David Tuah's problem in the past has been his weight. Last fight he was 250 pounds. Tonight he's 241, and he has been working very hard for tonight's bout. And here are his thoughts on his conditioning.
I'm prepared for this fight. It's a different fight, different time, and different opponent. This opponent's very, very durable, very, very good technical fighter, and it's going to be a great challenge for him.
And just looking at David Tuah in the ring, you can see the massive leg power that he has, which gives him tremendous leverage on his punches. If you get hit by David Tuah, you're going to know it. You're likely to start speaking in tongues. This guy can really hit you with shots. I like David Tuah when he used the body attack in the early portion of his fights and then started to concentrate on going upstairs. But he's a very skilled fighter. His last couple of fights, he said to himself, hey, listen, I got to get back to fundamentals and maybe work a little harder in the gym. He feels that 2007 is his big chance. If he's going to make something of himself in his most recent comeback, it has to happen this year. He takes a big step forward tonight against Houkins.
You know, you talk about crossroads fights. If ever there was a crossroads fight for any fighter, it's tonight for David Tuah. Because, yes, if he loses tonight, that doesn't finish him, but it certainly sets him back several steps, and he'll have a long way to go.
Boxing fans, this bout is scheduled for 10 rounds of action in the heavyweight division. Our judges overseeing this bout, Melvina Lathan, John McKay, and Louis Rivera. And our referee at the sound of the bell, Denny Schiavone. Introducing first in the blue corner, he comes to us from the fighting city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He weighed in at 241 pounds and wears blue trunks with white trim. Excellent professional record, 21 victories, only 6 defeats, 7 knockouts. Please welcome Robert Big Philly Houkins. out of the red corner. He comes to us tonight from South Auckland, New Zealand. Now fighting out of Lawndale, California. He also weighed in at 241 pounds. He wears black trunks with white trim. Professional record, 46 victories, only 3 defeats, 1 draw. Please welcome Дэвид Tuaman Tua. Referee Danny Schiavone with our instructions.
Fellas, we went over the rules in the dressing room. Expect you to obey my commands at all times. Keep the bout clean. Touch them up, go back to corners. Good luck.
10 rounds, heavyweights.
This is our main event of the evening, Дэвид Tuaman Tua. And you can see the physique. Never been a guy that was necessarily ripped, but the 9-pound differential from his last fight has him looking like he's in very good shape. Trim for a big heavyweight. We'll see if that can add some speed to his punches and a little bit of life to his comeback. Hawkins in the blue trunks. The bigger of the two fighters. Дэвид Tua is so compact and strong, can uncoil those left hooks. Had one of the sweetest left hooks in the heavyweight division of the young guys that were coming up when there were a lot of top heavyweights around. Of course, that was an era that was dominated, Randy, by Lennox Lewis. And it was pretty hard to get past him. He had a lot of guys come and threaten. Oliver McCall had a knockout win over Lennox Lewis. Rahman, as we mentioned, scored what a lot of people consider to be somewhat of a lucky knockout over Lennox Lewis, but that was an era that was not sensational in the heavyweight division, but Lennox Lewis was clearly the dominant force.
There's no question about it. I mean, Lennox really did dominate, except for that one night against Oliver McCall, which he got back, and of course, I guess it was against Rahman when Rahman really put it on him. Lennox Lewis really was the outstanding guy to deal with. But on that night of November 11th, 2000, I guess that was the worst night that Дэвид Tua ever had. He just didn't show up that night. We all have bad nights. He just picked a real bad night to do it.
He made it easy for Lennox Lewis. I think that was a disappointing thing. Tua had a lot of fans. I was at that fight in Las Vegas. And Дэвид Tua had a lot of people believing that he could handle Lennox Lewis. He never was able to press the action. He didn't really force the action very much. Didn't let his hands go. And I think if he's going to impress people that he's really back on the trail for a title shot, he's got to be an action fighter. People want to see action in the heavyweight division. He's capable of dominating this caliber of opposition. If he's going to beat the guys that are currently champions, Klitschko probably being the best of those, he's going to have to show that he can not only win these type of fights, but be a crowd pleaser in the process.
Tua just feeling his man out. There's the first time he put anything on the left hand. But Hawkins is using that jab. He's using the ring like we talked about. And that's what he has to do. Just keep his distance, fire that jab, keep his hands up, especially that right hand, which is going to be needed to pick off that left hook.
Nothing of any significance landed by either fighter so far in a slow-paced, feeling-out processed first round. Inside the final 30 seconds, Дэвид Tua has been the man coming forward. Hasn't really established a jab yet as a big weapon in this fight, and yet to unload a lot of power punches. We see a quick double left hook right there, and that's a signature Дэвид Tua shot. Final seconds, round number 1, scheduled for 10. Дэвид Tua working his way into this fight against Robert Houkins. And we close out round 1. Nothing overwhelming there in the body of work by Дэвид Tua. And we'll have to see if he can pick up the pace in this fight. Robert Houkins, as you mentioned at the top of the show, is a guy who can survive against just about anybody. Samuel Peter in line for a title shot and immersed in some controversy as a result. What would the heavyweight division be without controversy about who belongs in the title hunt? But Samuel Peter, impressive with back-to-back wins over James Lights Out Tony. Now, in both of those fights, you could have made the case that the only light that wasn't out for Tony was the one in his refrigerator. But that being said, Samuel Peter can't be denigrated for coming up with those 2 big wins, and he sits on the precipice of having a title fight mandated. Tua's trying to work his way into that company. From what we saw in round one, he's going to have to come up with something a little more impressive than what he did there. But easing his way into it. These are two heavyweights, big bangers. Here we go, round number 2, scheduled for 10. The action so far has been in the center of the ring, and it was somewhat scant in the first round, although I thought you had to give that one for Tua, even though there wasn't anything earth-shattering that happened in that first round.
There's not much doubt about it. I mean, it really was a quiet round, as you say. But Tua really did enough work. I thought his jab was popping a little bit to the midsection. Houkins is trying with that jab. You cannot say he's not trying. He's trying to find the range with the jab, trying to score points with that jab, doubling up on it, tripling up on it.
Tua's been moving forward throughout, trying to close the gap a little bit.
Whenever you got a puncher in front of you, you do not want to be against the ropes. You especially don't want to be in a corner.
Tua taking his time. Houkins fires a shot, lands a grazing left hand. Tried to follow with the right. Tua was able to evade that one.
But Tua has an unsung chin. I mean, he has one of the best chins in the heavyweights. In fact, he's got one of the best chins the heavyweights have seen in years.
And that Rahman fight that we mentioned, he took some hellacious shots from Rahman. Landed a controversial shot that came in after the bell in one of the early rounds. Kind of turned that fight in his favor. And then, of course, one of those Richard Steele types of stoppages that everybody starts screaming about. But nonetheless, I was one of the few people at ringside that thought Tua had won that fight. That was a significant stepping stone for him, as is this tonight here in the ballroom.
Tua tried a body attack there. One of the shots got in. The right hand was kind of muffled and nullified on the left arm of Houkins.
Tua doing a good job of blocking punches. Houkins not offering much in the way of offense so far. Tua kind of plodding his way in. Earlier in this round, he connected on a 2-punch combination. Landed a jab and a right hand. Got equal power in either hand. He can be a devastating puncher, as you said, Randy. You like to see David Tua let his hands go a little bit more frequently. Inside the final minute of round number 2. Houkins now peppering Tua a little bit with the jab, at least keeping him at bay and keeping him from pressing forward. Tua measuring his man. Houkins is backing up throughout. Right hand gets through to the body. To see David double up on a jab. Houkins throws a right hand that is blocked partially by David Tua. Final seconds, round number 2. Tua finally hammers that right hand home to the body. Inside 10 seconds to go. See if he can capitalize, make a statement here at the tail end of this second round. Another decent round for David Tua, Randy. And yet we haven't seen him illustrate to us what his strategy ultimately will be in this fight. He's in there against an opponent, a guy like Robert Houkins. Well, as we said, it would be no shame to go the distance, but if he is going to go the distance, you want to see him continue to upgrade the pressure and dominate this fight and really make a showing for himself. This is what his stated desire was coming into this one tonight.
I think David Tua's strategy is just keep marching his opponent down, which we talked about at the top of the show. Pressure, pressure, and more pressure. But it's not just pressure. It's effective pressure. And I see him being effective by working those body shots, by moving his hands. And he's really dominating the fight up to this point. Houkins just can't really get on track.
And set for round 3. Danny Chavone, third man in the ring. Referees here in New York State, outstanding, and Dan Chavone is part of that contingent. Here's David Tua, round number 3. He's in the black trunks. Robert Houkins, Philadelphia fighter, great legacy of Philadelphia fighters. Of course, Blue Horizon, a fabled venue for boxing. Smoking Joe Frazier, Bernard Hopkins, great champions. Matthew Saad Muhammad, and a litany of others have come out of Philadelphia, PA. They have wars in the gym that are so spectacular that a lot of people just like to go watch workouts. Houkins offering token pressure with the jab. Doubling up on the jab. That's something you want to see David do in this fight.
Hoffman just started to do something we also talked about, using the ring. He's been moving to his left. He started to move to his right, dropping body shots, so he's not going in one direction. He's trying to confuse. See, he's coming the other way now. Now he'll go back to the left.
He's not going to make anybody think he's Carl Lewis, but as you said, giving a little movement, showing some boxing intuition, he's staying with a tough guy, a guy that's got 46 wins in David Tuah. So he's doing what he has to do to try and make this a fight. And it behooves Tuah, as the crowd starts to get on Tuah and say, hey, we want to see some action, maybe on both fighters at this point, midway through round number 3.
You know what? In checking the old records, you got to go back 5 years to the Chris Bird fight in 2001, rather, to find a weight that David Tuah was close to. He was 233 pounds that night. He's 241. I am very impressed. I get on guys when they're overweight, and I say it. He was overweight for his last fight when he fought Maurice Wheeler back in November. He is not tonight. He's working with a personal trainer, a strength trainer, and he looks tremendous.
It's not a distinguished lot of champions out there. Vladimir Klitschko, probably the best. Shen Briggs made a comeback, won a share of the heavyweight title, WBO version. And then you have the Russian contingent. Still a couple of those guys holding title belts. His value out is a mystery to a lot of people at 9 feet tall. Kind of like a tall version of the great wrestler, Gorilla Monsoon, who has some boxing skills, but certainly nobody that would cause an opponent of Tuah's caliber to have any great fear going into a championship matchup. Round number 3 kind of plodding along here inside 30 seconds. In a mirror image round after round. Hawkins offering some resistance with the jab. Tuah trying to measure him and close inside and throw those hooks to the body. 10 seconds coming up. Round number 3. Crowd getting a little impatient. David Tuah looking to land one big shot perhaps to gather some momentum in this fight. Through 3 rounds so far on my scorecard, Randy, a shutout for David Tuah, although no serious damage being done.
No, but David Tuah knows he's got a lot of rounds in front of him, but he's not afraid that he's going to have to fight these rounds because he's in much better shape. Our cameras had a chance to catch up with him earlier, and he told us about this new camp, this new wave condition.
This camp here is different. I got my strength and condition coach from New Zealand, Lee Parore, and you know, he came at the right time. He's adding into what me and Roger have been doing in camp in regards to the boxing side of things. You know, we work really, really hard on the conditioning. I said a good 2.5 weeks to the fight, and I feel a big difference. And I'm just looking forward to going out tonight and displaying what we've been working really hard for. So yeah, I'm in great shape.
We'll see if this becomes a little bit of a war of attrition, if that conditioning pays off. Good body shot, rocks Hawkins. That's the first big blow of the fight for David Tuah.
But I also think Hawkins slipped on this canvas, which had been painted in the last 24 hours. It's a little bit slippery.
Nonetheless, Tuah perhaps gaining some confidence from landing that shot. Saw Hawkins go backwards, and it seems to have aroused his confidence. Hawkins inside with the left hand and grazes the chin of Tuah. One of the all-time, as you said, Randy, granite chins in the sport of boxing. I guess Marvin Hagler was one of those guys. He had a granite head. Evander Holyfield, another guy, but he used his head as a weapon. David Tuah has taken some hellacious shots and been able to just, as if they really made no difference whatsoever in his game plan, continue to press forward and fight his fight.
I once asked Lennox Lewis who were some of the guys with the hardest chins, and the first words out of his mouth were David Tuah. He said, "What do you think I boxed him for all that time?" He said, "After I hit him with several shots, I realized he wasn't going anywhere. I said, I've just got to keep boxing this man."
Hawkins throws a combination, and Tuah makes him pay to the belly as he goes downstairs with a 2-punch combination of his own. Seems to be winning all of the exchanges with Robert Hawkins. Hawkins' jab, not exactly piston rate, but still trying to keep Tuah off him is no small task. Sometimes we look at fighters and we criticize the guy who's winning the fight for not doing things that we're looking forward to. But Houkins is doing his share with his veteran experience to make it a little bit more of a challenge for David Tuah to come in and just score an easy knockout.
And Houkins, for the first time, really started to sit down on the punches. There he tried a hard left hook, and he's starting to throw some real hard shots back at Tuah now.
Starting to balance things out here. 2 minutes into round number 4. Probably the best round of the fight for Robert Houkins. Tuah landed that combination midway through the round. But Robert Houkins now starting to come forward, even though he's fought mostly backing up through this whole fight. When he leaps forward, he's been able to land that left hook. And you see another example, two-punch combination. Nothing serious. But he causes Tuah to change his tactics a little bit as he counters with the left hand.
I like the head movement too. He's got that right hand in front of his face. He's slipping punches very well.
Appears composed. Very much in command of this fight. Very in command of what he wants to do in this fight. You're hoping that he picks up the pace a little bit and becomes a little bit more of a crowd pleaser. But so far he's doing his job. Very professional effort by David Tuah. I think he's won all 4 rounds. To the corners they go. 4 rounds down on this scheduled 10-rounder. David Tuah controlling the action. He's been the aggressor in this fight. He's dictated the pace of the fight. But Robert Houkins, while he hasn't had any big moments, has been able to establish that, yes, he is a credible opponent, and he's a guy that could be dangerous later on.
Let's see some action from that last round. And you see Houkins step in with a solid jab. Another one. He makes Tuah miss. And then comes in. He tried inside there with the left hook, which fell short. But a few jabs there by Houkins. He had himself a pretty decent round. And you know what? If you're sitting at home with your scorecard and you gave that one to Houkins, I got no problem with it.
Debatable round.
I still gave it to Tuah, but I got no problem with scoring it the other way either.
Sometimes in these type of fights, and we've seen this pattern through the 4 rounds of this fight, you're looking for a round that you can give to the opponent, even though that round may not actually exist. I think David Tuah is doing a good job of being a ring general in there. He's obviously the stronger fighter. He's the guy that has the future in this game, even though both these guys have been around for a long time. There's a lot at stake in this fight for David Tuah, and he's fighting as if he has that sense of purpose.
I don't remember the last time I saw David Tuah looking this confident, relaxed in a fight. I mean, it's one thing to have all the skill that he does, but he hasn't had the conditioning in recent months. Tonight he's got it. He's also got the confidence.
Houkins leans on Tuah and lets his hands go. He did a couple of telling shots there. Tuah able to shrug him off. Robert Houkins is giving a good account of himself in the early stages of round 5.
I wouldn't like to see Houkins change his style, but I would like maybe every once in a while, I'd love to see him come in and kind of surprise Tuah and rumble with him.
And you're thinking that maybe David Tuah, he's fought a very cautious fight so far, a clever fight, and he's winning the fight on the scorecards. But you wonder if David Tuah doesn't want to eventually just break this man down and demonstrate that he does have big knockout power. He is a big puncher, and he's somebody that people want to pay money to see. And big television networks, like the people here at Gotham Boxing, want to continue to pour money into because he's going to make that steady claim. There's always an element there where you have to be somewhat of a crowd pleaser, even though people sometimes don't realize how tough it is to handle a guy like Houkins, who has his level of experience and can be a survivor in addition to being an aggressor.
We know how difficult it is to handle Houkins because all you have to do is look at those last 2 fights. In March of 2006, he lost the unanimous 8-round decision to Kevin Johnson, who's now about 11-0. And he gave Kevin really every round. Every round was competitive. And then, of course, a few months before that against Sam Peter, and we all know about Sam Peter, he lost a 10-round decision to Peter and gave Peter fits in that fight.
Starting to like the left hand I'm seeing from David Tuah. We saw it a couple of times. That is a sledgehammer of a left hook. I love when he throws it to the body. And that may turn out to be one of those weapons that makes it easier for David Tuah in the second half of this fight. 30 seconds to go in round number 5. It's been mostly David Tuah. Houkins has had sparse moments, but some good ones. as David Tuah continues to apply pressure and has been especially effective when he's gone to the body in the early rounds of this fight. Hawkins in a familiar position, backing up against the ropes, rocked into the corner by another body shot. If Tuah could double up, maybe triple up on these hooks, slip in a right hand, might make a big difference midway through the fight. And you get a shot of a very good crowd on hand here at the Roseland Ballroom. Great venue for boxing. You got to love this kind of stuff. Randy, you've been in the game forever. And this is the type of thing you like to see develop. Cedric Kushner does a fine job with whatever he promotes in a boxing game. He's one of the greats and one of the big names in boxing promotion. But you love seeing this kind of thing work out and the fans getting the kind of fights that get them excited and make them come back and want to buy tickets.
You're right. I mean, I really love the boxing at the casinos, but many times they're manufactured crowds. A lot of those tickets are given out. New York, this is a fight crowd.
And always an astute fight crowd. You can't fool these guys.
There it is.
It's been relatively even keel by both fighters.
Wait a minute. There's a shot of your limo. That's your limo waiting out front.
I had a cab driver that should have been in the Daytona 500. This guy took more chances than Kevin Harvick ever did. That's for sure. He would have beaten Mark Martin by a couple of minutes, not just 0.2 of a second.
Looking like a New York cabbie.
I'll tell you what, those guys should be nice guys. They're amazing.
I hope you gave him a good tip.
I did. He mowed down 2 pedestrians, and I paid him for it. I had to pay his bail money. Here's round number 6. Scheduled 10-rounder, heavyweight division. As you mentioned, Randy Gordon, kind of a crossroads fight for both of these guys. You wonder how many more matchups Robert Houkins will get if he loses this one. And David Tuah is starting to pick up the pace, showing some hand speed here in the early portion of round 6. Big left hook to the body. I felt that one. Reminded me of what I had for lunch. Wow, you could feel that all around ringside. Yeah, that's what you're looking for from Tuah. Swung and a miss.
But that's okay.
The left hook to the head.
He was swinging for the fences on that one.
Yeah, that would have been in. That would have been Houkins looking up at the lights if it connected. But a miss by a wide margin. Houkins a good job to adeptly duck out of the way of that shot. He leans on David Tuah, perhaps a sign of some fatigue on Houkins' part. You got to figure these body blows are eventually going to take a toll on Houkins.
The next time, there we go. Look at David Tuah's feet whenever you can. He leans in, he just about grabs the canvas with his toes, and then he lets go with these hard shots. Boom, left hook.
Hasn't had the fight at an especially fast pace in this fight. And you wonder what kind of omen that will be when he gets in there against some of the top guys in the division. This big ladder to climb, and yet if you have any kind of name value, still have some game left in the heavyweight division, you have to feel pretty comfortable about where you're at. Tuah was talking about maybe 2-3 fights before he takes a crack at one of the heavyweight champions. If he looks too good in some of these fights, they may want to dodge him, because you look at the cream of the crop in the division, and as we said, wide open guys. I'm surprised somebody hasn't exhumed the body of Jack Dempsey, trying to throw him into the ring in that mix.
Oh, you're bad. You're bad.
Houkins with a roundhouse right. Tuah able to duck that, or at least not show the effects of that blow. Houkins with a left hand that scores it. Easily makes him pay. Maybe a little bit low, huh, Randy?
Yeah, I think that one was low, but you know, you're going to throw enough body shots. Sooner or later, one is going to stray south of the border.
Well, the plan of attack working for David Tuah. He's wearing this man down slowly but surely. Inside 30 seconds to go in round number 6. It's a scheduled 10-rounder. Tuah none the worse for wear. Houkins doesn't appear to have done any damage to David Tuah. Neither fighter down, neither fighter marked, neither fighter in serious trouble so far in this fight as we close out round 6. Through 6 already. Take a look at your illustration. The footwork of David Tuah.
Take a look at David. David, of course, in those black and white shoes. He gets that tremendous leverage. There's a little bit off balance, but as he comes in, up on the balls of his feet, waiting to throw a good power shot, to sit down on the punch to get tremendous leverage on it.
Well, you can see where he's coming along. He's not trying to fool anybody. He said he might be a couple of fights away from being at his optimum level again. You still see the skills. You see the punching power. Getting instructions from his corner, Дэвид Туа. I would imagine there was someone along the lines of, keep doing what you're doing. You're winning this fight. You're not giving Robert Houkins a chance to win on the scorecards. I defer to the commish. I got it a shutout for Tuah. He probably could have found a round somewhere in there that one of the three judges, Melvina Lathan and company, had given to Houkins. But when you're hard-pressed to find a round that was won by a guy like Houkins, you got to figure that Дэвид Туа can continue doing what he's doing and score a shutout in this fight.
Back in his last fight in November of 2006, Дэвид Туа went into this round, I thought, a round behind against big, tall Maurice Wheeler. And then one massive body shot dropped Wheeler for the count. KO 7.
This is clearly a credible performance by Дэвид Туа. If you're a Дэвид Туа fan, or even if you're just a guy that followed his career and said, hey, whatever happened to that guy, you're seeing a reemergence here of Дэвид Туа, a disciplined fight against a veteran guy, as we said, out of those tough Philadelphia gyms where he may not have a sparring partner mentality per se, but he's a guy that's probably been in there with some really talented fighters and fought a lot of rounds at a high level. And Houkins making a good account of himself tonight against Tuah, who's determined to put himself very much firmly back on the heavyweight mat. Start to wing those left hooks a little bit. If he ever connects to the chin of Houkins, we'll find out what kind of whiskers Robert Houkins has.
You know, I'd love to see a Дэвид Туа fight somebody like Oleg Moskaev, one of the champions. Moskaev, about his size, loves to come in and brawl. That would be an exciting fight.
And Moskaev, as we saw in his championship fight, doesn't fight at an accelerated pace, so it could be tailor-made for a guy like Tuah, even the way he's performing tonight against Houkins. I was shocked to see Moskaev have something left in the tank against the Seen the Rock Rockman, a guy that Tuah had success against, but I don't know that Rockman's the same fighter as he was when he fought Дэвид Туа several years ago in South Florida. Crowd getting a little anxious, trying to implore Tuah to pick up the pace a little bit. Tuah doing his job.
But he's trying to pick up the pace, and Houkins is fighting a very good fight. A smart fight. So he's tying him up on the inside, pushes him away, and then he's moving his hands. Nothing wrong with what Houkins is doing. But Tuah just keeps doing it over and over again, keeps applying that pressure, that effective pressure.
Houkins finding a home now for that left hook to the body, stealing a page from Tuah's arsenal. Tuah's been coming forward the entire fight. Houkins, a guy that's been backing up. Hard to win fights like this backing up. Power shot again to the gut by Дэвид Туа. 10 seconds to go here in round number 7. He finally comes upstairs, partially blocked by Houkins. And Tuah applying pressure. Houkins comes back. Good action at the end of round 7. Rounds in the books. Round 8 coming up. As you see, our very lovely ring card girl putting that on full display. That was round 8, Randy. You can look all the way up to the card.
8's my favorite number.
All of a sudden, your eyes got kaleidoscopic there.
The only thing you're doing is hesitate. You got 2 to go. Turn it the fuck off. Now you can exhaust the motherfucking tank a little bit and let that shit go.
3 rounds to go in this battle. This is round number 8, scheduled for 10 heavyweights. Дэвид Туа coming in a little trimmer than he did the last time we saw him in the ring, as he dropped 9 pounds, got himself in shape. That conditioning should pay dividends here towards the tail end of this fight. Robert Houkins with a decent display of some boxing skills, not necessarily just in there to survive. He's trying to dictate the pace here at the early portion of round number 8, Randy. Tuah just won't let him off the hook. He continues to pressure boxing performance. usually finishes the exchange with one of those body blows. The left hook has been his best shot so far in the fight.
Hawkins is matching all strength with Tua to actually trying to push him back.
I'm impressed with Hawkins. You know, sometimes you see these fights, you see a big-name guy like David Tuah, and you figure, okay, this is an easy one. We don't have to necessarily watch every round in close detail to see what the outcome is going to be. Hawkins is really putting up a battle in this one. Not making it easy for David Tuah this evening.
Not at all. I mean, I even think that Robert Hawkins may have won that last round.
Tuah now tags Hawkins. That one finally got through to the chin. Hawkins can take a punch. Tuah now looking to put more pressure on Robert Hawkins. Hawkins only with 7 knockouts. He's had a lot of fights. So you get the impression he's not a guy that's going to take out a David Tuah. When Tuah's been in there against some of the best in the world and has been able to withstand any punishment that they've been able to dish out.
And in his career, Hawkins has lost 5 fights by decision. Only one man has ever stopped him, and that was the heavyweight champion, Oleg Moskaev.
Moskaev, a big puncher. Good left hand by Hawkins, and Tuah answers back. Pace of this fight picking up. This one picking up some steam, Randy Gordon.
Ooh, hard right hand by Hawkins to the side of the face. That was the hardest shot thrown by Hawkins.
He's scoring with regularity, and Tuah is looking at him as if to say, bring it on, my friend. This one's starting to be a little bit more of a war in the late stages of round number 8. There's some bravado on display here also by both guys. Oh, good combination. See some hand speed there on display by David Tuah.
Wow, I didn't know Tuah had that kind of hand speed.
Doubled up on a jab and through. Good. Straight left hand. It scored. Might have left an indelible impression on Hawkins. To Hawkins' credit. Blue collar lunch pail type of fight by Robert Hawkins. Like he just decided, hey, we're going to be here for a while, my friend. I'm not necessarily conceding anything to you, David Tuah, even though you've been to the top of the mountain. Tuah able to answer back and counter most of what Hawkins is able to bring on. Final seconds, round number 8. This one heating up here at the Roseland Ballroom. Wow. Interesting turn of events here in round number 8. Both guys landing telling blows.
Here's some action from that last round. And you see Tuah eating a couple of jabs, another jab, and then a right hand. Tries a couple of body shots. Hawkins backs up, makes Tuah miss with a left hand, and they continue to exchange. That was an action-packed round. In fact, I'd have to say that was maybe the most action-packed round of the fight so far.
Right, double jab, and right hand back to him. Hit him with anything. And hit him anywhere. Hit him on his work. Doing a good job. Picked it up. Now let's pick it up some more. Let's put something soft on it. All right, let's go.
And you see some action there. Ripping a right hand is David Tuah to the side of the face of Hawkins, who's actually fighting much the same way he did against Sam Peter back in December of 2005. He was losing many of the rounds, and he did lose most of those rounds in that fight, but he was competitive in every single one of them.
Well, we talk about crossroad fights. This is perhaps a crossroads round for both of these guys. Robert Hawkins still very much in this fight, even though it could be a bludgeoning, a veritable blowout on the scorecards. You would imagine that depending on the angle you're watching this fight from, that the officials will be justified in giving a couple of rounds to Robert Hawkins. And yet I thought David Tuah has controlled the pace of the fight. Ring generalship, effective aggression, mostly been on Tuah's side, but by only a narrow margin in a lot of these rounds.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Hawkins won the last 2 rounds, 7 and 8. I like the way he's fighting. He's muscling Tuah around as much as he can on the inside. Landing combinations, landing the jab. There was that right hand by Hawkins. And he's fighting Tuah's fight.
Tuah's corner imploring him to continue to pick up the pace. He showed us some blistering hand speed in round number 8, and you'd like to see more of that. That's been the one thing about David Tuah you want to see him to continue to work on. He's capable, and you just want to see him let it go and make a statement here. Turns into a little bit of a wrestling match here, as both fighters entitled to feel a little bit of fatigue. Hawkins lands a good shot on the whiskers of David Tuah. Infighting starting to favor Robert Houkins a little bit. You would think that that phone booth would be all David Tuah. About a minute to go in round number 9. Tuah trying to find some answers. Houkins has been a difficult puzzle for him.
Well, Hawkins is having a good first half of the round, but Tuah's been coming on.
Both fighters leading on each other. Pace of round 9, probably the slowest of this fight since the opening stanza, which had both guys kind of doing a slow waltz around the ring. We are, after all, in a ballroom. I guess it's appropriate. But they have been waltzing in the last 7 or 8 frames of this one. David Tuah, pulverizing shot on the inside. And Hawkins just shrugs it off. You got to love this kid, Randy, the way he's performing in this fight against a world-class fighter in David Tuah. I think Tuah still has shown indications that he is full-fledged world-class. Big exchange, center of the ring. Both guys were hurt by that one.
Well, we talked about Hawkins' chin. You just saw it there. He got hit with the left hand that would have dropped most heavyweights.
Overhand right, nearly scored by Tuah. He tries it again. Feeling comfortable with that shot. Final seconds, round 9. Action reaching an apex here. Tuah scores on the inside. We'll go to the 10th. Good-looking conclusion to the 9th round of this fight. Both guys scoring with telling shots. Both guys showing they still have plenty left. They can press the gas pedal. This could be a good final round.
Double left hook and then a crushing left hook. And you saw Hawkins wobble on that one. He tries to get away, but in comes Tuah, who lands it again, and then a right hand. I am surprised that Hawkins didn't hit the deck.
The recuperative powers of Hawkins also readily on display there, because you could see he was staggered. A little bit of a delayed reaction. You can't get hit much harder than that. He backed up against the ropes and only took it a split second to recompose himself and get back into the fight. Crowd should be on its feet for this one here at the Rosedale Ballroom. Great action here in New York City. It's a Broadway show coming up in round number 10. Jeff DeForest, Randy Gordon, the commish. We'll see who has the goods. Is it David Tuah? Is he taking another step forward? Or can Robert Houkins pull off a huge upset and stymie the return to championship status of one David Tuah? Been a good one so far. Round 9, last 30 seconds or so, the best action we've seen in this fight. Both fighters making a statement there. Tuah with the left hook. Like to see him throw that overhand right one more time. He missed it the first time. He backed up Hawkins the second time he threw it, connected, didn't land flush. But it had enough steam on it, enough purpose on it. It might have made the difference in the round. That was the biggest punch in the fight so far. 2 minutes to go.
He would love to get a knockout here.
Oh, good left hand and another one. And he scores. And Hawkins' chin must be made out of cement, Randy. He just walks right through these punches like they were powder puffs. David Tuah is a hard punching heavyweight, and at 240, he's demonstrated that he was in marvelous shape for this fight. He had to be if he's going to come away with a victory here.
Oh, this is a much different David Tuah than we saw a few months ago. David Tuah a few months ago could not have thrown this amount of punches.
Halfway through round number 10. This one could go the distance. It's been a good test for David Tuah. I think he has taken a big step forward here from the last time we saw him in the ring, Randy.
I got to tell you something.
Disappointed in his performance that night.
Back in December, had he fought Robert Houkins, he may not have come away with the victory. Tonight, he's had to work for it, but I do believe in the end the scorecards will be in his favor. You got to applaud the effort of Robert Houkins.
This guy deserves a standing ovation. It's not as if Tuah hasn't put forth a real good fight plan and a good effort, executed his fight plan, not necessarily to perfection, but with precision. And he comes on now here in the tail end of round number 10, looking for the knockout. Both guys winging it. crowd is getting to its feet. They're loving it here. Two heavyweights giving it all.
It was the right uppercut which started it, and Hawkins' knees buckled. Then
Landed a huge left inside there, too.
Left hook. Oh, the left hook got him.
Hawkins is hurt. Can he survive? 20 seconds to go. Round number 10. This one ending in dramatic fashion. David Tuah pulling it on right now. Robert Hawkins, life and death to survive the 10th and final round. 10 seconds to go. Tuah is the champ. And Tuah finishing this off in devastating fashion. Robert Hawkins, as game as they come, Randy Gordon. Inside 10 seconds, Hawkins deserves to survive this one.
It is target practice for Tuah.
Uppercut, hook, and the fight is over. Wow. What a great finish. David Tuah deserves the right to smile. Great effort by Robert Hawkins, too. You talk about heart, tenacity. As you said, maybe not the most skilled of fighters. Guy that's been in there with some good competition. But David Tuah gave it everything he had in that 10th round. Came within an eyelash of really putting a serious hurt on Hawkins. And if you wanted to put an exclamation point on his comeback, you're going to see it right here.
I had it 98-92, but this round, you could have even made it a 2-point round. If you're going to use those points, now's the time to use them. Show that this was a decisive round for David Tuah. It was. So I think he's going to win it either 98-92 or maybe even 99-92.
You could have made a case that Tuah won all 10 rounds. I would imagine the judges found something in Hawkins' effort. It would almost seem cruel to have this guy shut out in this fight, and yet if you just were going strictly on a round-by-round basis, I thought Tuah swept them all. It's going to turn out to be a convincing win for David Tuah, and a good win for David Tuah also, if our scorecard tabulations are correct. Got to applaud the effort of Robert Hawkins, as you said. Crowd came to its feet at the tail end of this fight. The action continued its ascent throughout the entire battle. Round 9, good stuff towards the tail end. Round 10 was set up for distinction. And we saw David Tuah really pour it on, tried everything he could to knock out Robert Hawkins. Hawkins, as if his feet were a veritable foundation for his 241 pounds. Did a great job just to go the distance. Good job refereeing also by Danny Chavone. These New York officials have really put on a fine display tonight. Let the fighters go at it. You didn't see a lot of interference by the referee. Not a lot of clinches, not a lot of warnings. And it was a good, clean fight, good, hard-fought battle as we await the decision. And Genial Joe Antonacci. Scorecards have been tabulated. We're ready for the official decision.
Boxing fans, before we go to the scorecards, how about a big round of applause for both of these brave warriors right here. After 10 rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards. Judge Louis Rivera scores about 99-91. Judges John McKay and Melvina Lathan both scored about 96-94. All for your winner by unanimous decision from Auckland, New Zealand, David Tuah.
And you get a look at a jubilant David Tuah. Philadelphia fighter Robert Hawkins gets a well-deserved round of applause. Scoring a little bit closer than I anticipated. I didn't see 96-94. However, John McKay and the sometimes controversial Melvina Lathan had this a close fight, 6-4 for David Tuah. Some of the crowd a little bit dismayed, disputing the decision. And maybe denigrating its authenticity. I thought that Rivera, the third judge who had it 99-91, was much more in line with the way that fight went. The complexion of the fight was strictly dictated by David Tuah. Hawkins had his moments and had just an unbelievable chin there towards the tail end of the fight. Randy Gordon, the commissioner, is up in the ring showing his dexterity. He's climbed from his position here ringside. He's going to get a chance to talk with David Tuah. Takes another big step forward on the road perhaps to a championship title shot.
Look, thanks a lot, Jeff. I think I just wore David Tuah down. I was chasing him around the ring, finally caught up with him. David, unanimous decision tonight. A couple of the scores a little bit closer than I thought. 99-91, that was just about fine. Then there was 96-94 twice.
It is what it is. I give Robert Houkins a lot of credit. He came out tonight. He came out to win. It was a tough fight. I couldn't get my rhythm going in the beginning of the fight, but once I started picking it up, I was able to do what I was supposed to be doing. So a win is a win. Now we're getting this tough fight out of the way, and we're looking forward to going back to the drawing board and sit on with Roger and definitely with Lee and see where we go from here. And definitely Cedric. So yeah. I
mean, you were in against the guy who obviously has a very strong chin. He's gone the distance with undefeated prospect Kevin Johnson. He went the distance with #1 contender Samuel Peter. You know the guy could take a shot, and it was a couple times of the fight you landed some crushing shots. I'd love to see you put that same shot on Oleg Moskayev or Nikolai Valuev.
Well, it is what it is. Like I said, I've been away from the ring for quite some time, and it's going to take more than a couple of fights to get back the rhythm and the rusty out of the way. But I'm happy where I'm at. Like I said, it's not going to happen overnight. Where I'm at right now, it's about doing everything right or not doing it at all. And thus far, Cedric is doing a good job on me, and I'm not as busy as I would love to, but I'm sure this year we're going to get back to the drawing board and fight again maybe in the next 2 months.
As far as heavyweights go, you're still a young guy at 34 years old. What's your timetable?
Well, like I said, it's a feeling. For me, I might say it might take 3, it might take 4 fights, but it might take 2. So I don't know. At this stage, I'm going to take 1 fight at a time.
What do you think you have to work on?
Pretty much the whole package. I mean, I've got a good jab going, but it's a matter of getting the confidence to throw it with bad intent. But like I said, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen. Maybe it's going to take 1 or 2 more fights. I don't know. Okay,
I want to see what I want to get Cedric Cushing, your promoter, in here. Cedric, I mean, there was a vast difference. 250 pounds his last fight, 241, and it was more than 9 pounds. He looked different tonight.
Well, I knew that was going to be the case when I asked Dave when he came to town if he wanted to have dinner with me, and he declined. It was something I had to repeat the question again, but he declined again. He said he was in serious training. He understood this was an important match, and the results proved that he came in at 241.
He says he'd like to take a few more fights, just really work himself back into contention again. What is that plan now?
Just as he says, to keep on fighting. That's the name of the game, activity. I think it's good for exposure, and, most certainly in the last round, he was just coming on and showed you what he's capable of doing, and that's what the fans are going to remember. The last round was a terrific round. A few more seconds, I'm not sure if the other guy would have made out of it.
What's your opinion of the heavyweight division right now as it stands?
It's exciting. The champions there are obviously called champions because they fought for the titles and won it. But for me, it's more important that I need to focus on myself and what I need to do. So I'm happy where I'm at, but I'm not really happy. But it's not going to happen overnight. So.
When you say you'd like to take a few more fights, I mean, would you like those fights to be piled together, like by the summer, have a few more?
Definitely. Cedric is the man. He's going to do it. Right, Sid?
Yep. You're going to do it in the ring. I'll do it on the outside.
He's going to do it. We're going to do it.
Together, they are quite a team, as David Tuah has launched this big comeback, and it takes another step towards the heavyweight championship of the world. Let's go back to another champion at ringside, Big Jeff.
Love you, Mom.
All right, good stuff. Randy Gordon, the commissioner, inside the ring with David Tuah and the brain trust Cedric Kushner of Gotham Boxing. Stepping stone, a building block here for David Tuah. A very honest assessment of his performance tonight. Game effort by Robert Houkins. I thought a convincing win.